Hello everyone, Ta here with another marker pack tutorial video. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to set up a GitHub repository for your marker pack. You're going to need a few things for this. First of all, you're going to need a GitHub account, of course. So if you don't have one, go ahead and go and create one real quick. Then you're going to need to download GitHub Desktop. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And then I also recommend picking up Visual Studio Code. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. So to go ahead and get started, once you've downloaded GitHub Desktop, you should open up to a screen that looks something like this. You're going to want to go ahead and sign in to github.com. Assuming you're signed in on your browser, it's going to bring up an authorize that looks something like this. You're going to go ahead and click Authorize Desktop. And then that should bring you to a screen like so. Feel free to configure this if you want, but you can also just go ahead and click Finish. And then you'll have a screen that looks something like this. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and go into Options. We're going to go to Appearance, and we're going to choose the Superior Dark theme. It's a very important step. Make sure not to forget it. And then we can go ahead and close out of that. And you can go ahead and click File, New Repository. And then here you can go ahead and use the name of your pack. I'll go ahead and be using example pack. And then choose your file path. For this, I'm going to go ahead and choose our example folder that I've been working with in the rest of the series. And then you can just click Create Repository. Then we're going to go ahead and publish the repository. If you want to keep the code private, you can have this checked. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it. This will allow us to share the repo to other people. And then we'll publish repository. If you do set it to private, you can always change that in the settings later. And now that we had that set up, we can go ahead and start setting up our actual repo. So if we click this repository button here, we're going to go to Show in Explorer. That's going to open up a Explorer page for us. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. I'm going to just name it Example Pack. And then within that folder is where we can put all of our actual pack stuff. So namely our data folder and then our XML. If you don't have an XML already, you can grab that from the example pack repo that I'll also have linked in the description. For us, we're just going to grab our example pack, and then we're going to paste our XML right here with our data folder, just like it would be when you're working on it outside of a repo. Of course, if you have data, you can go ahead and include that now. So I will just take the data folders that we've been working with in the other packs, or the other videos, and I'm going to go ahead and just paste that right into here. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab build.bat, and again I'm going to paste that in here, and we can use that to build our first .taco. With this all done, anything that we do in these folders is going to then show in our repository. So as you can see, we have all the changed files here. All I'm going to do to commit is we have to add a summary of what our changes are. So this one, I'll just say initial file upload. I'll commit to main. And then we'll go ahead and push origin. And now that it's pushed, we can go ahead and hit this repository button. And if we go to view on GitHub, that'll open up a page in the browser. And as you can see, we have our example pack repository here. And I clearly need to go to settings and change my appearance to single theme, dark default. Gotta make sure to have that superior setting there. And so there we are. We have our repository set up, and we can go ahead and start making changes. So the big reasoning for setting up a repository is for versioning, which is basically just keeping backups of all of your work. So if I go ahead and open up our repo here, this is why I recommend also having Visual Studio Code. If you have that, you can go ahead and choose in your external editors. You can also use Notepad++, or of course, there's other multiple editors that will work with GitHub Desktop. For this, we're going to use Visual Studio Code. And so whenever you want to do XML editing, you can just click this Open in Visual Studio Code. Sorry for the loud noise. And then that's going to open up something like this. And so you can see inside of it we have our whole example pack. We have our XML that we can do any editing that we need to in. We can also see our other files. So for example, I can see our marker PNGs and our TRL file. This is useful for when you need to know your different file paths and stuff. You can see that right here. And then if you ever make any changes, anything that you do here will be automatically synced with your repo via GitHub Desktop. So for example, if I delete this, and maybe I change this one to also a cog, just changing some marker stuff, and then I save that, you'll see right here there's a little im, which means that this file has been modified. If we go back to our GitHub Desktop, now we see that our change here is reflected in GitHub Desktop. You can either use this default, or what I would recommend is adding a little bit more description here. So maybe I just say changed TF markers, and then you can click commit, and then all you have to do is click push origin, and that'll push it to your actual GitHub site. So if we go into here now and we go and click on our XML, you can see that we've changed that to cog and the other one's gone, just like you would expect. So that's how you can sync all of your work. GitHub Desktop basically gets rid of the need to know anything about Git and does all of the hard work for you. One thing I will note, if you ever plan to do massive changes, I would recommend setting up a new branch. So we just click on this box right here, click new branch, and you can name it whatever you want. Dev new update, we'll say. And you can create a branch, and then you have to publish that to your origin. And now I can do whatever work that I want here. For example, just say I added a new marker or something, say this is something else, T whatever. Just assume that this is a different marker. So I can do whatever changes I want here, and I can go ahead and commit them to this branch without actually affecting anything that's on the main branch. So even if I push this to the origin, if we go and we look here, I go to our XML, this is on the main branch, so you're not going to see any of those changes here. However, if I go to the dev branch, you can go ahead and see my changes already. So this is basically a way to instance your changes, so that if you're doing a bunch of crazy stuff and you're worried that maybe it's going to completely screw up your pack, you always have the fallback of you're not actually changing anything on your main pack. And then when you're ready to actually say, I've checked out these changes, I've got everything I need to do done, and it's all working as expected, I can go ahead and create a pull request here. And that's going to open up another page here automatically for you. You can go ahead and, as long as it's able to merge, you can create pull request. And it'll check, make sure that there's no conflicts. If there's nothing, you can go ahead and just hit this merge pull request, confirm. And then if you're done with the branch, you can delete the branch right here. And what that does is it merges all of your changes onto main. So if I go back now and we check that XML, we are on main here, and you'll notice that the changes have gone through. So that's how you can use branches to make sure that you're not going to mess up anything in your main pack. You can also use the GitHub desktop to revert any commits that, for example, mess something up. So if I commit something here, I've added a couple markers or something, or changed a marker, and we'll say, oops, we'll actually go back to main here, fetch our origin. So anytime you make changes to main, for example, pull request, you're going to have to fetch the origin to pull those changes to your local repository. So here you can see we have to pull those two commits, and now we should have them here in our actual pack as you would expect. But now, so we'll say maybe I delete something I don't want to actually delete. We save here and I accidentally commit it to main and I don't realize. I can come back later, find, for example, this commit where I deleted this. I can right click this under the history. I can undo commit or revert changes in commit. If I revert those, you'll see I get another commit here. And now if I go back, you can see that this marker is back where it was, no longer deleted. So that's a useful way if you're making commits like you should, anytime you have any decent update to anything. This is a useful way to be able to roll back things if you have something go wrong. Now let's assume that you have all your commits ready and you're ready to push out your first release. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and go back to our marker pack here. And then over here, you're going to see releases, and we can click create a new release. You can click this choose a tag. These are the version tags, so you might see something like v.1.0.0 or just 1.0. However you want a version is up to you, just try and keep it consistent. And then you would probably do something like v1.0 release. That's your title. And then in this describe the release, you typically just add any changes or anything that's been done in this new release. So I could say here, put a header with changes, and then maybe we want a bullet point that just says first release of my cool pack. This is just Markdown, so if you ever want to see all the different things you can do for it, just go ahead and search down Markdown, or search up Markdown formatting, and there's tons of resources on that. And you can also preview what it'll actually look like by clicking that preview menu. And then the only thing we need to do here is we need to attach our actual taco. So if I go to our example pack here, I'm going to drag and drop our taco where it says attach binaries, and then publish release. What this will do is it creates a release, and then it has your .taco right here in the assets. Now if you want to have a static link to your latest release download, there's a pretty easy way to do that. Go ahead and just right click this. We're going to go ahead and copy link address. We'll go back to our pack. A good place to put this is in your README. So we'll go ahead and add a README. And then here we'll add a link to, we'll say, download latest release. Again, this is just markdown formatting. And we'll go ahead and we'll paste that link, and then we'll change it just a little bit. So, whoops. So we're going to delete the version, and then in front of download, we're going to put latest and a /. And what this is going to do is it's always going to link to the latest download of this file. So if you ever change your taco file name, you're going to need to update this link. But as long as you don't change the name, it should automatically point to that latest taco release. And then you can go ahead and just commit. And you'll see we have our link here. And if I click on that, it's going to go ahead and download our example pack.taco straight away. Of course, if you are distributing this to other people, it's a good idea to include a more extensive README explaining what your pack is for, what it's about, any of that fun stuff, credits, whatever you want. Feel free to get as fancy as you want with it. But that pretty much wraps up everything you need to know about creating your own marker pack GitHub repository. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave a comment or join one of the Discords in the description. This has been Teh with the Marker Pack Academy, and I'll catch you next time.